06:02 a.m., September 12, 2025. Eastern Ukraine. A narrow valley cut deep between two ridges, the ground still wet from the night's rain. The air heavy with diesel and distant artillery smoke. The morning light breaks slowly, revealing what looks like calm, but it's a silence loaded with purpose. From the crest of the western ridge, Ukrainian reconnaissance operators monitor the valley through infrared optics. Every patch of grass, every shadow, every ripple of heat is catalogued. Below them lies a single dirt road, the only passage wide enough for armor. It will soon become the center of a trap months in the making. Russian armored forces, part of a tactical group advancing from the east, are preparing to push through. Intelligence suggested Ukrainian defenses had withdrawn, leaving this corridor open. What they didn't know, it wasn't an accident. It was bait. At the command post, Ukrainian officers speak quietly, almost whispering. Orders are simple. Let them roll in. No movement, no fire, until the valley is full. By 06:15, thermal signatures appear. Heavy armor, T-72s and T-90s, supported by infantry fighting vehicles and logistics trucks. The column stretches for nearly 2 kilometers. Overhead, a thin layer of fog helps conceal their movement, but not from the drones. The Ukrainian eyes in the sky track everything, transmitting live coordinates through encrypted channels. For the soldiers watching from the ridges, it's like witnessing an inevitable disaster in slow motion. They can see the exact point where the first tank will hit a mine. They can see the moment where all escape routes will close. They thought they were chasing retreating ghosts, but what they entered was a valley designed to burn. By 06:25, the Russian column is deep inside the valley. From above, it looks like a steel serpent. Long, confident, and unaware of its own vulnerability, Ukrainian artillery remains silent. No flares, no movement. Even the drone operators keep their hands still. The entire defensive network is operating under strict radio discipline. One command word will unleash everything. But not yet. The tactic is older than the war itself. Lure the enemy into confined terrain, then strike when their formation is stretched and blind. In military terms, it's called canalization. In Ukrainian doctrine, it's called survival. Hidden along the ridgelines are the tools of that survival. Stugna P missile teams concealed beneath camouflage nets. Mortars calibrated for pre-registered coordinates. Electronic warfare units ready to jam Russian communications at the moment of engagement. Each operator knows their task down to the second. On the valley floor, Russian commanders believe they're exploiting a gap. Their confidence grows. They report, minimal resistance, advancing. The lead platoon pushes ahead faster, widening the column, creating exactly what Ukraine's tactical planners hoped for: overextension. The trap tightens invisibly. Mines buried beneath the mud wait for pressure triggers. Remote sensors linked to hidden charges. Drones hover silently above, marking targets with invisible lasers. The order to engage hasn't yet come. The Ukrainians wait for the valley to be full, for the point of no return. At 06:40, a single phrase echoes through encrypted comms. Zamknyti dolinu. Close the valley. 6:45 a.m. For nearly half an hour, the Russian column had advanced unhindered. Engines hummed. Radio chatter filled the air. In their minds, the road ahead was clear. But war is not about what you see. It's about what waits unseen. Then, without warning, the valley itself awakens. The lead T-90 strikes a buried mine. The blast lifts its 46-ton hull half a meter off the ground before slamming it down in a cloud of dirt and smoke. Behind it, the following vehicle brakes too late, colliding into the wreck. The entire column halts. The silence lasts less than a second. From both ridgelines, Ukrainian anti-tank missiles scream through the mist. Stugna P and Javelin launchers, pre-aimed and pre-calibrated, fire in synchronized intervals. Each detonation is followed by another. The ridges flash in orange bursts. The valley becomes a thunder chamber. Inside the column, confusion reigns. Russian gunners rotate their turrets, firing blindly toward the slopes, trying to identify the source. The first shells impact dirt and rock, detonating harmlessly. Ukrainian positions remain hidden under layers of thermal camouflage. Operators in forward observation posts relay coordinates with cold precision. Target 4 to 8 immobilized. Rear convoy stacking, adjust fire grid Delta 7. Ukrainian mortars answer with sharp rhythmic impacts. Each round lands closer to the center of the trapped formation, pushing survivors toward the choke points already mined. By 06:55, escape is impossible. What was once an armored spearhead is now a steel labyrinth of burning wrecks. The smell of diesel, cordite, and metal dust fills the air. Then comes the second phase, the closure. From the western ridge, combat engineers detonate a pre-placed charge, collapsing a section of dirt road behind the Russian rear guard. The only exit is now sealed under debris and smoke. The narrator's tone lowers, almost whispering, In less than 10 minutes, mobility became a memory. The hunters had turned the valley into a cage. Russian infantry dismount, seeking cover behind the disabled vehicles. Some begin firing upward, but the slopes offer no silhouette to hit. Only echoes and flashes. Ukrainian drones hover silently above, their cameras watching, their payloads waiting. 7 km. The trap is complete. Now comes the burn. High above, rotary wing drones, small, fast, and nearly silent, descend into the smoke. Each carries a canister no larger than a soda bottle, filled with thermite, a mixture of metal powder and iron oxide that burns at over 2,000 degrees Celsius. Operators, hundreds of meters away, mark their targets. Mostly disabled tanks, still intact enough to be repaired or recovered. Recovery, however, is not part of Ukraine's plan. The first drone releases its payload. A stream of molten fire pours through the turret hatch of a stalled T-72. In seconds, the internal ammunition cooks off. A deep, concussive boom. The turret lifts violently, thrown several meters into the air before landing sideways, flames bursting through every seam. Another drone dives lower, dropping thermite onto a cluster of infantry vehicles. The result is chemical poetry. Bright white arcs, then a cascade of orange as fuel lines rupture and ignite. From a distance, the entire valley appears to shimmer. It's not fog anymore, it's heat distortion, a mirage of fire. The Russian formation, once methodical and armored, is now chaos incarnate. Crews abandon their tanks, only to be caught by secondary explosions. Ammunition detonates sporadically, metallic thunder rolling down the valley walls. Ukrainian radio intercepts capture fragments of Russian panic. Command, we're hit. We're burning. Multiple losses. Can't. The signal dissolves into static. By 07:10, flames consume everything. The smoke rises in black columns, visible for kilometers. Ukrainian soldiers watch in silence from the ridge, not celebrating, not cheering. They know this is what modern warfare looks like: remote, efficient, merciless. The narrator pauses, letting the imagery breathe. In the Iron Valley, tanks no longer ruled. The age of steel bowed to the age of fire. If you're following this story and want to see more tactical breakdowns like this one, remember to like the video and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you the front line as it happens. The scene fades out slowly. The valley burns through the morning haze, each wreck a monument to miscalculation. 7:20 a.m. The valley is still burning when Russian command finally reacts. From positions kilometers away, artillery units begin to align their tubes, searching for coordinates in the chaos. But the grid they're targeting no longer exists. The valley has changed, its shape distorted by explosions, its landmarks erased by smoke. On Russian comms, confusion deepens. Forward observers are silent. Command vehicles, the heart of communication, have already been destroyed in the center of the column. Some units transmit fragmentary coordinates, others receive nothing at all. At 07:25, counter-battery fire begins. Shells arc through the sky and detonate across the ridges. A desperate attempt to suppress Ukrainian positions. But the defenders are no longer there. The moment the ambush was triggered, most missile teams relocated behind alternate positions, leaving decoy heat sources behind to attract return fire. Russian shells crash into empty earth, igniting bushes and throwing dust across already blackened soil. On the western ridge, Captain Danilo Hrekov, commander of the anti-armor platoon, watches through binoculars. His voice, recorded later for a post-action report, is calm, deliberate. They fired at ghosts. We weren't fighting tanks anymore. We were fighting panic. By 07:30, the second line of Russian vehicles, still outside the valley, receives conflicting orders. Some are told to advance to rescue survivors. Others are commanded to hold position. Neither order makes sense. Advancing means entering a furnace. Waiting means surrendering initiative. The paralysis is total. From the Ukrainian perspective, this is the most dangerous moment. The temptation to push too soon. Command restrains every impulse. The valley remains sealed. The fire must finish its work. Then, at 07:40, a sudden chain reaction. A stored ammunition truck detonates near the front of the column, triggering secondary explosions across half the valley. Shockwaves ripple through the smoke, lifting debris into the air like volcanic ash. Sensors record a heat spike visible from miles away. The narrator's tone steadies, almost clinical. In that instant, the Russian advance ceased to exist. What had entered as an army left as ash. Ukrainian artillery now joins the final phase. Precision strikes on any remaining movement. Each shot deliberate, surgical, meant not to destroy, but to confirm. When the firing finally stops, the valley is silent again, except for the crackle of burning metal and the occasional detonation of ammunition cooking off. The counterfire has collapsed. The offensive is over. 08:10 a.m. The smoke still hangs low, rolling across the terrain like a living thing. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones return, sweeping over what remains of the Russian column. From the air, the view is almost unreal. Twisted metal lined up in scorched symmetry. Dozens of tanks and vehicles reduced to glowing skeletons. Operators catalog every wreck, marking positions for later recovery and evidence. Each destroyed vehicle tells a story of precision, of patience, of inevitability. On the ground, infantry units advance cautiously. They move through blackened mud, passing burning hulks still hot enough to melt boots. The silence is profound. Even the wind seems to avoid the place. Occasionally, a muffled explosion, the delayed detonation of unexploded ordnance, breaks the quiet. But the battle is done. By 09:00, Ukrainian engineers have secured the ridgelines and reopened communications. The operation is officially declared a success. Military analysts in Kyiv receive real-time footage from drones. Fire still visible, flames dancing across wrecked turrets. The images will soon circle the world. The narrator's voice slows, reflective. In a war defined by attrition, moments like these are more than tactical victories. They are signals, messages written in smoke. For the Russian command, the loss is more than material. It's psychological. Reports from intercepted communications reveal shaken morale. Commanders questioning the safety of every advance through confined terrain. What was once considered safe ground, valleys, roads, corridors, has become a symbol of danger. Meanwhile, Ukrainian units collect fragments of scorched armor, proof of success and material for repair. Drones continue to hover, not as weapons now, but as witnesses. Satellite imagery captured that afternoon would later confirm what local soldiers already knew. The Iron Valley had become a graveyard of steel. As the scene fades, the camera pans upward, from burning wrecks to the wide expanse of sky, the same gray-blue horizon that witnessed both death and defiance. Victory here wasn't about numbers. It was about timing, about patience, about letting the enemy roll into their own ending. If you've reached this point in the story and want to see more detailed analysis of Ukraine's evolving tactics, make sure to like this video and subscribe. It helps us continue documenting the frontline truth, one battle at a time. The smoke finally begins to thin. Sunlight filters through the haze. In the distance, new orders come through Ukrainian channels. The next phase of the campaign is already in motion. 30 a.m., September 12, 2025. Hours after the firestorm, the Iron Valley lies quiet. Smoke drifts lazily upward, merging with a sky the color of cold steel. The ground beneath is scorched and uneven, cratered by impacts and littered with fragments of melted armor. From the ridge, the Ukrainian soldiers who survived the ambush stand in silence, their faces blackened by soot and dust. They watch the horizon, not in triumph, but in exhaustion. What they've accomplished is tactical perfection, but it came at the cost of something deeper. The confirmation that the future of war is changing forever. In the Iron Valley, one idea burned brighter than the flames themselves. That armor alone no longer defines dominance. Mobility, mass, firepower, they mean nothing without information, patience, and control. The Ukrainian operation demonstrated that a small, agile force equipped with drones, mines, and networked precision could neutralize an armored column designed for brute assault. It was the embodiment of new warfare, not defined by size, but by synchronization. Each strike in the ambush wasn't random. It was data-driven. Thermal sensors, satellite imagery, AI-assisted targeting, and encrypted communication all converged in seconds to produce a battlefield decision older than humanity itself: when to pull the trigger. By the afternoon, international military analysts would label the event a turning point in armored warfare. For Russia, it became a case study in vulnerability, the realization that even their most modern tanks were not safe under the eye of the sky. For Ukraine, it was a message, a proof of doctrine, that precision, adaptability, and patience can outweigh sheer volume of steel. The Iron Valley was never about victory or defeat. It was about evolution, about what happens when technology meets willpower, when strategy meets desperation. Satellite imagery released weeks later confirmed at least 27 destroyed armored vehicles across a 3-kilometer stretch. Ukrainian command published none of it immediately. They understood the psychological power of silence. Let the enemy wonder, let the myth grow. Meanwhile, Western analysts dissected the footage frame by frame, noting the flawless coordination between drone operators and ground units, a hallmark of battlefield adaptation. In those images, modern warfare looked less like chaos and more like choreography. Once, the tank symbolized certainty, a fortress of armor rolling through chaos. But in the Iron Valley, that symbol cracked. Fire replaced certainty, drones replaced armor, and data replaced command. Wars are not only fought with bullets and shells, they are fought with adaptation, with the ability to learn faster than the enemy. And in September of 2025, deep in the Iron Valley, Ukraine learned faster. The valley burned for a day, but its lesson will burn much longer. If you found this analysis insightful, remember to like this video, subscribe for more frontline documentaries, and share your thoughts below. Every voice helps keep these stories alive.